Final Destination Bloodlines is coming out very soon, and I thought, what better way to celebrate than to do tier lists of the deaths from the 5 previous Final Destination films. And just before I get any further, I just wanted to preface by saying I won't be doing the premonitions of these movies in these videos, but I will probably save it for a future video dedicated just to the premonitions. Oh, and these videos will have spoilers, obviously. So, at the start of the film, Alex has a premonition that the plane will explode on his class field trip, and he decides to freak out, and, well, he doesn't decide to freak out, he just does it. So he freaks out and gets off the plane, and so does a handful of other people, and, surprisingly enough, the plane does explode, meaning he's psychic. I don't know if it means he's psychic, but he somehow has a vision, and it's just, yeah, he has it, let's move on. And on the plane that exploded was tragically his best friend Todd's brother. I don't know if his brother has a name. Here it is, I'm not going to look it up now. So Todd's death scene begins with him on the toilet having a massive shit, so big that it breaks the toilet and starts to leak. So after his massive shit, he goes to the mirror and cuts his neck for some reason. I still don't know why he does this. I've seen this movie a handful of times. He's got like the smoothest face in the world. Like, what are you trying to shave there? If you've got one hair, wouldn't you just tweeze it? It's not even like foreshadowing. He dies from something kind of related, but like, I still don't get it. He has a shit and then cuts his neck and then dies from something unrelated. And that's not even the silliest part of his death. The silliest part is when the leaking water that I mentioned before becomes sentient and starts chasing him around the bathroom. Just as it's about to catch up to him, he turns around, so the water's like, hey, get back here. After about 20 minutes of this, he accidentally slips on the water and falls into the bathtub, and this is when the scene gets suddenly really tense. The water moving around the floor of the bathroom was really goofy, but this is some real uneasy shit. As he slips into the bathtub, the clothesline cord wraps around his neck and begins to strangle him. The bottom of this bath is covered in shampoo, so his feet and hands continue to slip around as he struggles to pull himself up, which really emphasizes how slow and torturous this death is for him. Sadly, he can't reach the scissors in time to cut himself free, and he doesn't make it. And here to ruin the tension once again is the puddle of water, where it runs under the toilet to not get caught, I guess. The cause of death and how makeshift it is, I think is really cool. It's so accidental, and it's also just shot really well. You really see the struggle in all of it, and it makes you really uncomfortable to watch. I'm gonna put it in a B tier. I'm gonna put it at a high B tier. If it wasn't for the water, it'd be an A, but I'm gonna put it at B. And the saddest part is that Todd's parents think this was intentional because of the guilt over losing his brother, so it's just such an emotional gut punch, ruined by the water going, haha, I'm gonna get ya. So everyone in the group is scared of protagonist Alex because they see him as responsible for the plane crash and now for Todd's death because it looked like a suicide. They all bump into each other at the front of a cafe, and Carter bullies Alex because he's the stereotypical jock character of this movie. Much like the audience, Terry's sick of Carter being a dickhead. I don't know where that came from. Much like the audience, Carter's girlfriend Terry is getting sick of him and wants him to have some character growth. She says, I'm too cool for this, I'll see you all in the sequel. All of a sudden, she's hit by a bus coming from an impossible angle, but hey, it's still a really surprising death. So far in this movie, there isn't too much suspension of disbelief, and the deaths aren't too complex like they get later in the franchise. It's short, it's simple, it's iconic. I'll put it in A tier because her death is a bit of a jump scare and probably the most unexpected death in the whole franchise so far. You've been hit by, you've been struck by. So Miss Lewton has had a terrible week and she just needs to sit back and relax with a nice cup of boiling water. She then remembers that boiling water isn't a drink and decides to have the exact opposite, frozen vodka. She brings it out of the freezer and pours it into the hot mug. For the love of God, do not do this. So the science in these movies is usually pretty unrealistic or unreliable. This is spot on. Having glass or ceramic go from one extreme temperature to the other will cause it to break or shatter like it does here. She goes for a nice walk around the house with her mug of vodka and fails to notice it dripping all over the floor and into her computer. The computer explodes and sprays shards of glass everywhere, including into her neck. The sparks from the computer cause the vodka trail to catch fire, which leads to a bottle of vodka, which also explodes. She falls to the ground and reaches for a towel that she previously put on a knife block. You can see where this is going. She pulls the towel down, which causes a knife to land directly into her chest. Meanwhile, protagonist Alex feels like Miss Lewton is going to be in danger, so he runs to her house to save her. How does he know where she lives? I don't know, stop asking questions. Protagonist Alex shows up just in time for a third explosion, which causes a chair to fall and land on the knife, killing her instantly. Alex pulls the knife out of her chest, but it's too late. But as he's running out of the house, we get a fourth explosion. Are you kidding me? Now, her death has a solid build-up, but it results in a pretty sudden knife stab, which is a little lackluster in my opinion. Also, we get like 4 explosions in the span of 3 minutes, and that's frankly too many explosions. C tier. After that, Billy, protagonist Alex, Carter, and Clear, who I haven't mentioned until now, all go for a drive to clear their heads. Protagonist Alex is being a backseat driver and wanting to be in charge of the radio. Carter is really annoyed by this because the backseat passenger shouldn't be in charge of the music, and he stops on the train tracks to make protagonist Alex shut up. Everyone gets out of the car and Carter's like, "Ah, shit, I should probably do that too," and begins to panic as his car gets possessed and locks the doors. He finally says that protagonist Alex can have full control over the music, which convinces him to pull Carter out of the car just in time before the train smashes into it. Billy thinks that this is complete bullshit since he was the front passenger and should always be in charge of being DJ. As Billy is berating Carter for revoking his passenger princess privileges, that's really hard to say, a piece of debris gets caught from under the train and ricochets right through his head. Holy shit! It cuts his head clean off in an effect that is suddenly way more gory than the deaths prior to it. This death is so iconic and I completely see why, and it's one of the only deaths I knew about before seeing any of the Final Destination movies. It's set up really well, and I feel like it's the first case of showing the audience that if a character cheats death, then it just moves on to the next one. A rule that is very loosely followed later in the franchise. I'm recording this after the fact to say that Billy's death is S tier. I didn't record saying what tier it was in, but it's S tier, so putting that in now. It's now 6 months later, and the 3 remaining survivors, Carter, protagonist Alex, and Clear, who I, again, haven't really mentioned in this video, decide to go to Paris in memory of their classmates and friends. They're eating outside a cafe, and protagonist Alex is still trying to figure out death's rules since it seems to be making them up as it goes. Just as a side note, there is a scene where protagonist Alex remembers part of his premonition that reveals the order of deaths is actually different than he had thought. When he says this revelation out loud, the lights flicker as if death was like, "Oh shit, you're right, I didn't pick up on that either."
I never moved because he was in front of mine.
So not even death can keep up with its own rules. Protagonist Alex decides to just give up on these rules and he says, "I'm too cool for this, I'll see you all in the sequel." But just as he steps onto the road, he remembers those were Terry's final words. A bus appears out of nowhere but just misses him, meaning he cheated death so it should move on to the next person. Right? Well, no, because death makes up its own rules and tries to have another go at him. It tries by throwing a sign at him, but Carter pushes him out of the way. But this reveals that now Alex has moved the curse on. To whom, you ask? Well, Carter's death is off screen, but it cuts to black just at the right moment for a comedic oh shit moment, so I appreciate that. I'll put it in B tier, but I'll put it like a low B tier. I'll definitely put it below Todd's death because I feel like Todd's was much more uncomfortable to watch, and it was only in B tier because it was undercut by a lot of the goofiness in the water, whereas this one is kind of goofy because it cuts to black, but it's done in an intentionally comedic way, so yeah, I put it in B tier. I like the way it ends the movie just on smash and cut to black. So, there you have it. Here is my tier list of the Final Destination, not the Final Destination, Final Destination 1 tier list of the deaths. So, what do you think? I think this is... personally, I just think this is a blue wall. I can't actually see what the tier list is. From memory, there's not a lot of deaths in Final Destination 1, so it's not really like as spread out and aesthetically pleasing. I also didn't want to jump the gun and give too many S tiers and too many F tiers right off the bat. I wanted to save the F tiers for the Final Destination, spoiler alert. But yeah, what did you think of this? I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed my very accurate and thorough breakdown of the story. That's totally what happens in the movies. I thought I'd just sort of, be a little bit goofy and silly with the breakdown and the rundown of the movie. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like because I want to do more of these videos, more of the tier lists, more videos about the Final Destination movies, especially Bloodlines. So Let me know what you thought about the video, and definitely make sure that you subscribe to stay tuned and stay up to date with the videos when I post them. So thank you so much for watching these videos, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.